Henshin Inspection presents Going Ultra! This is MJ. I'm an author, I'm an artist, I'm an analyzer. Find all my work at mjmunoz.com. Welcome to Going Ultra. Visit mjmunoz.com/gu for notes and links, and don't forget to subscribe. Like, share, and comment to help me grow. So, I'm talking about Ultraman Z, Episode 2. You gotta chant that Ultra's name in order to get into the power. So, anyway, I really like this episode. It's funny, the pacing seemed really fast, which is a good thing. It seemed fairly simple, but the plot overall, but also super cool. Or am I forced to say ultra cool and try to sound like Z? I don't think so. I think that'd be ultra lame of me to do all the ultra time, so I won't be doing that. Anyway, so the thing with this episode, it was very straightforward. There's an invisible monster, Neronga, or isn't that the name of an anime? Neronga, maybe is its name? I don't know. But it's a thing, it burrows, it goes invisible, it eats electricity. There's this big power plant that's coming online pretty soon. It's a semi-perpetual energy power plant, which, kids, if you want semi-perpetual energy, you got to look into nuclear, especially because it's so darn clean, especially with the modern containment systems. It's used in France and Germany a lot to great avail for them, and as far as I know, there's been no serious nuclear waste damage. The plants are built way differently than Chernobyl or Fukushima Daiichi and other such plants. But anyway, that's a little tangent for you. A little real world stuff in your Ultraman talk here. But anyway, there's a great first fight between Sevenger and, and the kaiju, the electric kaiju, the electric invisible kaiju. And Sevenger loses. It's Haruki in Sevenger at the time. He's piloting and he's unable to make it work. There's a nice moment where he tries to turn into Ultraman Z, but he's unable to, and later on he communes with Z, and he learns the reason why is because he's not at a high enough level as far as his intensity, or intent I should say, and that stops him, it prevents him from being able to access the power of Ultraman Z. So I thought that was interesting, and in that scene he asks Z to reintroduce himself, and we learn that Z's 5,000 years old, which is funny, especially because he seems so young, and then Haruki is trying to be all respectful to him, and he's like, no, stop, you're being cringy, knock it off. And that was a fun moment. And with the ages of Ultras relative, is 5,000, is that like a 15-year-old, a 20-year-old? I don't know. Do they live to be 20,000 years, 80,000 years? I don't know. But because I'm so new to all this stuff, but it's funny, and I'm liking the situational humor coming up based on who these characters are and the differences between them. And that's my favorite kind of humor when it comes from the characters. Speaking of humor coming from the characters, we learn that Yoko is not only a strong woman, but she's a strong woman who's into older men, which in Japan, or at least in this show, is referred to colloquially or culturally as a gerbil. So there's this old guy who's like one of the engineers, or he's in charge of the maintenance of the machines, I'm not sure, of Sevenger specifically, it seems, and he reports to her something, and she hops over all excited to see him after just turning down this guy, this younger guy, for a date, and it looked like he was about her age, not necessarily younger than her, but anyway, that was a lot of fun. And then it gets funnier because at the end of the episode, she's kind of smitten by Z for having saved her, and she gets to learn from Haruki that he's 5,000 years old, and she's extra into that. So that was pretty funny. And speaking of which, like that kind of humor and like the butt grabbing, the senpai, can't remember his name, grabbed Haruki by the butt to like get him to bow and to make him cry a little bit. Like that's all like within the acceptable range. Like I feel like this is a very family-friendly show. And then I gotta say that I think they're doing an interesting job with just how they're presenting the level of humor and the level of sophistication. There's like interesting, like there's like broad appeal in this. There's a lot of so I don't want to go down this road. I love the Evangelion-esque, I'll just leave it at this. I love the Evangelion-esque mecha show type thing that's going on with Sevenger and with storage. That's super cool. I really dig that. That's one of my favorite things in all science fiction type shows. Just for an aside, there's this great show created or produced whatever by Leiji Matsumoto based off of his works, called Galaxy Railways 999, I think or is it just Galaxy Railways? It's just Galaxy Railways. Anyway, in that, they have this space train called Big One, or Great One, I think is what it is in the Japanese, but it doesn't matter. Every time it goes out, every time they sortie to do a rescue, because they're a defense force on the space railways, they do a bunch of cool stuff with, like, the temperature is rising, the core is ready, all systems checked, we're in the green, safety, check, 1, 2, 3, release these locks, and like in Evangelion 2, they did that, releasing the final safety locks, Evangelion Unit 1 is ready to launch, that kind of thing. I love all that, like, not tech team, but like military-esque tech team, like tactical mumbo jumbo and stuff, and it's just so cool seeing the teams of people swarming around Sevenger, seeing that it takes a whole group of people, and like, I'm not a collectivist, I'm very individualist, but I love the idea of people working in harmony together for, a cause that they choose to, but not being, I guess my problem is people being forced to do things versus people choosing to do things together and electing to do those things of their own volition. And I'm sure anybody who works for storage can leave at any time if they want to, although I'm sure for the pride of storage and the protection of their fellow men and women, they wouldn't want to do that. But anyway, I love all that stuff. I love how much it's revealed that, like, it takes all this work of all these people together to have this function, and I really dig that. I love the ethos of cooperation and voluntary interaction and things like that, and I guess that's what that speaks to. And there's a heroism and a nobility in even, like, the actions and the work of simple people, because the mechanics, the engineers, whatever, even like the maintenance guys, or the guy who checks, the servers, or, oil Sevenger or whatever, like, those people seem to have, it's actually a very, like, biblical almost principle of, like, the many parts of the body, and that's actually, well, anyway, that, even though you may think you're insignificant, or the things that you're doing are insignificant, if we're all working in a, one body together, if we're all in accordance, if we're all in cooperation with each other, the things that we do with each other and for each other, towards this greater goal, are all serving a great purpose. And even the less glamorous things, which people might say, oh, that's, dumb, who cares about that? It turns out those are extremely important. And I really like the communication of that, or not the communication of that necessarily, because you'd have to think about it, really, in order to come away with those things just from the scene here, but seeing it in these different shows over time, and then seeing it maybe in this show over time, depending on how much they continue to show of the storage crew, it'll put that across, it'll send that message subliminally, which I think is pretty groovy. The way that they determine that they're going to defeat Sevenger, which is by I don't know what the tech girl's name is. I need to figure that out. Anyway, I'll learn it in time, just like I'll learn the Commander Senpai dude, his name. But anyway, she develops this little missile rocket thingy that they only have one of, and they only have one shot to get it right to strike the kaiju in his horn, which they've determined is the source of his invincibility cloaking. And that's pretty groovy that they're going to do that. And it adds stakes. It artificially adds stakes to it, but it's all artificial anyway, so you may as well do that sort of thing. The only complaint I have really about it is that Yoko did fire it because she was piloting Sevenger in the second half of the episode, which I like that they have the two of them so they can kind of split off. And I was wondering, when he pulled at the Z trigger, how's he going to transform and then turn into Z inside of Sevenger, and will Sevenger continue to be piloted on its, things like that. Is that when Z was in trouble and Yoko launched this missile, this rocket thingy, from Sevenger's face, and the face grill that Sevenger has apparently has ordinances that can be launched from there, which is pretty cool. But when she did that, I couldn't tell what it was. I thought it was just like a random gun, like G Gundam, or what's it called? Burning Gundam, God Gundam, whatever you want to call it. It has like guns, Vulcan cannons or whatever. It has guns on the side of its head and it can shoot them off at will. That's what it reminded me of. That's what it looked like. That's what it felt like. I didn't realize she was actually shooting that particular ordnance that the science girl made. So, which there was a cute moment of her being upset that these other people had developed this semi-perpetual energy device, because she's like, hey, I want to do that. I want that accomplishment. And that was fun. It could have been taken the wrong way, but I definitely took it in a positive way, which I think is how it was intended. I don't know. Circling back to the like the Evangelion-esque feel, we get a shot in the cockpit over Yoko's head, and you get to see all the controls and switches and knobs in a screen that Z shows up on, in the cockpit of Sevenger. And I love all that techie stuff. It's really, really cool. The fight was super dynamic. I don't think the old Ultraman fights were slow and ponderous. No, they weren't really. I've only seen a couple of the classic Ultraman episodes, but the fights were never slow. I love how athletic and how Z's doing cartwheels and flipping out. He flipped over the back of the kaiju and stuff, and that's super cool. I absolutely love that. It's so dynamic and punchy, and it feels so great to watch. It's super entertaining. Oh, and then I love that Haruki went and he sparred with the senpai, and he got trounced again and again and again, and he just kept coming back, and he's like, please, keep fighting me, keep sparring me, I gotta get better. And he does ultimately at the end. And it was weird, the moment where the senpai was leaned over and was like, hey, you gotta use, your other senses, don't just rely on your eyes. It almost seemed like there was something knowing there, like he knew that he was Z, that he knew... Yeah, like he knew that he was Z, although he fought him as Sevenger when he disappeared on him and stuff. So echoing back of him vanishing out of the room, out of the dojo, which was a little hokey, but okay, overall, it kind of feels like that. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens with this guy, but I like him. I like the whole cast so far, all the storage crew, and I'm looking forward to seeing what other adventures they get into. So that's pretty much it for now. I liked the episode a lot. Cool sci-fi techie stuff, some cool like moral or morale. No, not morale. Stupid. It was a silly mistake. Like cool little moral messages in the story. They're not beating you over the head with them, and great comedy that comes from the characters and who they are. And I really dig that. So I'm looking forward to seeing more. And I like that it does tie into the absolute conspiracy and the devil splinters that they mentioned in there. Although they mentioned them they mentioned the devil splinters in there, but I thought that they didn't really talk about them. Grigio and Zero talked about them, but they weren't like a part of the absolute conspiracy onto itself. So maybe they're from the end of Ultra Fight Galaxy, New Generation Heroes that I never finished. Although I thought I did finish it, but I don't know. I don't remember hearing about devil splinters anywhere but out of Grigio's mouth. And she called them evil printers in the dub, which is pretty funny. Yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. Go ahead and check out mgwinners.com/GU for more of my stuff relating to Ultraman. I've got, the SSS Gridman show. I also covered in another version of Going Ultra the Netflix anime adaptation of Ultraman. And then anyway, you can just search around in the podcast tab, search for the Going Ultra or Ultraman, whatever, and you should be able to find it pretty quickly. And this is Henshin Inspection Presents Going Ultra, but this is kind of like the rebirth of Ultraman. Just like there's, Ultraman and then New Ultraman, or there was Kamen Rider, and then like Kamen Rider Sky Rider was actually just called aired as Kamen Rider a little bit. It's kind of like that thing. So I'm taking inspiration from the tokusatsu shows that I enjoy so much. So anyway, that's going to be all I have to say. So I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. I'm going to let you go. I thank you for your time and attention, folks. Peace and blessings to you. And remember, you don't have to shout Henshin to be a hero.